Hello everyone and welcome to the channel. I'm Emmanuel, I'm an airline pilot, and today we are going to do a progress check on the TFDI MD-11 freighter. Now we are going to take this on a real-world Lufthansa cargo service that used to be operated in 2021 on the MD-11 between Seoul and Osaka, which is the last leg of a trip from Frankfurt via Kazakhstan over to Seoul and then to Osaka and thereafter back. Now this is going to be a quick 1 hour and 10-minute flight, and before we are going to head into the aircraft to start our procedures, let's go ahead and have a quick look at SimBrief in order to do our pre-flight preparation. So this is the Lufthansa Cargo 839R0, and in case you're wondering where I'm getting data for flights like these that are no longer operated, I've been using the Ediklar website for that one, where I just searched for Lufthansa Cargo, so call sign GEC and then aircraft MD-11, and then like that you can get a whole list of real-world flight plans and when they've been added. And when we go into that, then we can get our flight data. So for example, for ours we went down here, Lufthansa Cargo 8390, and then we had the real-world flight plan available over here. So in looking into our flight itself, let's go ahead and have a look at the PDF, as that's in my opinion the easiest thing to do. This is our flight plan with the just recently updated Lufthansa layout. Now we're going from Seoul over to Osaka, cost index 80, and we're in the MD-11F down here. Our weights are all listed over here, and if we have a look at our route, then you can see we're departing Seoul with a left-hand turn over here, almost in orbit, and then head across South Korea and then straight across the ocean towards Japan. Now, looking into the significant weather chart, you can see that little line over here. Unfortunately, it is a little bit cut out, but that is basically a jet stream that is rather strong, so we can see that on the profile view over here, departing down here in Seoul, and then you can see we have something like an average tailwind of about 80 knots along our way before going into Osaka. Now, in terms of the weather information itself, we have good weather conditions, current and forecast at Seoul. Our destination airport, Osaka, likewise very good weather conditions. They are using runway 06 at the moment, even though it is a straight 5 knots tailwind. But you can see on the forecast that by 10 o'clock UTC, the wind is changing to an easterly wind. And our alternate Chubut Centrair is also very good. So basically good weather conditions all over. Going back into our operational flight plan then, we gotta make a decision on the fuel, and we are scheduled to depart here with about 17 tons. Now, the only reason why I would take a little bit extra over here is because I'm not that familiar with the MD-11, so I'm not 100% sure on how well the fuel usage is modeled. For that reason, we're just going to uplift like 1,000 kilos extra to be on the safe side here. So if we take 18 tons of fuel, then we should be good to go. And that's everything we need over here. So let's head into the cockpit and get our lovely MD-11 going. Now, the procedures are once again rather split between the captain's and the first officer's procedure in the MD-11. So for that reason, the captain basically doesn't really have to do anything at first, but we start our flows on the first officer's seat. Before we do that though, let's go ahead and set up our electronic flight bag. We're going to import our data down here. Let's go to the payload page up next, where we can do a quick setup. So, cargo load for this one is 36,000 kilos. So let's go ahead and type that in, 36,000, and for the fuel we decided on taking 18 tons. Okay, set payload, and that's it. And then we can head over to the FO seat now in order to power up the aircraft and to run the cockpit preparation procedures. The logbook is checked, the aircraft is in a good condition today. All the circuit breakers are pushed in. Emergency equipment is checked, the weather radar system is turned off, and the weather radar is one of the first new things that we actually have in this aircraft that have just been fitted with the weather and the terrain coming in the latest update from the end of August. Okay, fuel switches are off. Park and brake, that's also something new. In order to set it, you now have to press the brake pedals, just like you would have to do on the real airplane, and only then you can move the park and brake in. Now, looks like that is a feature that everyone took over from the PMDG 737 now, but hey, if it's realistic, why not? So the spoiler and the flaps handle are up, both of them. Landing gear handle is down, the fuel manifold and dump switches are guarded. Emergency power selector is in the off position. And external power is available, so we can go ahead and switch that on right after the battery. Battery on.
Autopilot.
External power coming on. Screens booting up down here. Very good. Okay. Then we can go ahead with our fire tests. Okay, 25 degrees outside, that is rather cold. For that reason, let's go ahead and fire up the APU straight away. So, one of the nice things about the MD-11 is that it is such a smart aircraft. You can either start the APU from up here, or you just press the APU power button down here, and that automatically initiates the APU start sequence, as you can see on the... Is it called an ICAS? Is it called an ECAM? I'm actually not too sure about the MD-11 there. In any case, that is how you start it up. So, next up, we are going to do the annunciator light test.
Overspeed. Overspeed. Overspeed.
Which is looking good, and as soon as the APU is available, I am going to put it onto the air conditioning as well. But you can see the APU does take a little while to start up. So at first it goes to 50% N1, later on it goes up higher. So that is quite normal. In any case, once we turn the APU bleed on, I would have believed that this would have accelerated the sequence. In any case, we do have APU bleed now, so the aircraft is now at least being air conditioned to a proper temperature. Right, next up we turn on the IRSs, which also runs the cargo fire test. Okay, and last but not least, we need to initialize the IRS position. So, MD-11F, CF6 engines, the database is current as of this recording. And flight plan in it, we are going from... Now this actually is our Romeo Kilo Sierra India. Romeo Kilo Sierra India. Over to Romeo Juliet Bravo Bravo. Okay, insert, and the position looks roughly correct, so initialize IRS. Wonderful. And with that done, we've now completed the initial power-up procedure. For the rest of it, we can either continue on the first officer's seat for the rest of the flight deck inspection, or move over to the captain's seat to do his part of the inspection. Personally, I am just going to stay on the FO seat for now, because we have the entire flight deck inspection to complete up next. So, starting up at the top, cargo fire test is done, IRSs are initializing, flight recorder test works. Okay then, going down here, no engine ignition selected just yet, that is correct. Then we can start at the top over here with the hydraulic system pressure test. And that leads us down to the hydraulic panel, or rather to the hydraulic display, where we can monitor the test in progress, but basically if anything goes wrong, the airplane is going to alert us. It is a rather smart system indeed. I do like the MD-11 for that. Okay, then we can continue with the emergency power, setting that one to armed. Moving down, the APU air is already on, fuel is looking good. Leading us down to the lights panel. So emergency lights go to armed, the no smoking signs go to auto, and the seatbelt signs can already go to on down here. So, nav lights are coming on, and the rest of the lights can basically stay off for the moment. Moving on to the third column then, the engine and APU fire test is already done. Nothing to set up here. Moving further down, and down, and down. We did the annunciator light test, refueling is completed, so we can reset the fuel used. And then we get down to our flight guidance and control panel. So we are selecting the PFDs to hectopascals. We will use traffic, data and airports, and I also want the VOR displays. Looking further down, you can nicely see the hydraulic pressure test in progress at the moment. And we can use the weather radar switch to switch between weather and terrain. I am going to use terrain on the FO side here and weather on the captain's side. Okay, moving further down we get to the standby instrument, which we can switch to hectopascals as well. I'm just not going to set any values just yet, we'll do that a little bit later on. So, auto brake into the takeoff position, nothing is set on the control stand just yet. Leading us down to our radios, and what are we gonna do? We will use 1228 on VHF 1, 1215 on VHF 2, and we obviously want to listen to those accordingly as well. Transponder, the captain will be pilot flying, so that states on 1, altitude reporting off, standby mode selected, and the Squawk 2000 with the TCAS set to above, and the trims are in the neutral position. Alright, and that way we are done with our setup on the FO seat. Now there has been a little bit of work done on the ACAS menus as far as I'm aware, so why don't we just about give this a try. So, station RKSI, let's see if we can grab some weather over here, but for some reason we still can't select, or we still can't request it. If I'm doing something wrong over here, if you know about that, be sure to put it in the comments below. I did enter my ACAS, or my Hoppy ACAS code, but for some reason it's still not doing anything for me. Okay, well, so then we can move over to the captain's side and we can start our procedures from the captain's seat. And we're going to start down here with our nav display selection. This one will be set to weather. We'll go for hectopascals down here, and then we can go into the FMS setup. So, let's go ahead and give this a go. MD-11F CF6 engines database is current, we checked that already. Then let's go into our setup. So, the first officer has entered the departure and destination already. So, as captain we only need to enter the alternate, which is going to be Romeo, Juliet, Golf, Golf. So, flight number is Lufthansa Cargo 8390, cruising level, flight level 3990, cost index 80, and that is that. Then let's go on to the flight plan page. So SID is going to be off runway 33 left if I'm not mistaken, which I'm not. So 33 left, we've got the Agoba 2 Alpha departure. Here we go, and insert. We're going to check all those waypoints a little bit later. So from Agoba, we proceed via the airway Yankee 6907 towards Lanat. And from there via Yankee 5907 towards Mihao, and thereafter Yankee 361 to Saeki and Yankee 36 Alicia. Alright, like that. Insert. And then we can already go down to our arrival. So, Osaka, star, and it is going to be an ILS approach onto runway 06 left Let's just go ahead and have a look into our charts though. View arrival airport charts. So we are scheduled via the Alicia Alpha arrival, leading us right onto the final, landing on 06 left at the moment. Then let's have a look at the available approaches. We start at Barry, as we can see, and 06 left. So the Zulu approach starts at Burton, and the Yankee approach starts at Barry. Okay, then we're going to take the ILS Yankee 06 left. So 06 left, Yankee. And I was just about to select the Alicia Alpha arrival. Why is that one no longer available? Most likely because it's the Bravo then. But do we have any information there? Yeah, 06 left, Alicia Bravo. That's fine. So Alicia Bravo it is. Transition. No, not from gates. Well, that's fine. I am going to fix that myself. So let's head over into the plan view and cross-check what we have. We are going to start with our SID, and then later on we will do the star. Okay, so for our SID, Egoba to Alpha. That one should be it. So on the runway track, Alpha Delta 020 above 2000. And that is in here. Then we continue via 050 above 5000, which we have as well. Can we? Yes, we can show that on the plan view. Okay, Yankee Delta 070, Yankee Delta 100 above 9000 and 11,000 respectively. And we do have both of those. And thereafter we continue via 130 above 13,000, 170 to 10. And thereafter towards Egoba. Perfect, so this is exactly what we're looking for. Doesn't look like there is an initial climb clearance published, so I am just going to keep it on 10,000. That way we should have it nice and easy. Okay. In terms of the taxi, as we don't really have any very good moving map or something, let's just have a look at the airport chart like that. So we are currently parking on the cargo apron number 1 up here. And the pushback is going to be down here. Taxi straight out via Delta 2. In Juliet we're going to cross the runway, and then up here via Bravo to intersection Golf runway 33 left. So something like that is going to be our taxi routing. At least that is what I observed on Flight Radar. It doesn't look like they're just taking a shortcut over here, but it looks like they're actually going something like that. Probably to put aircraft into proper sequence down here. I'm not 100% sure, to be honest, but that is what I could find out online. Okay. So that's that part inserted here. So quite a couple of cargo door indications, but well, those will go away once we are gonna close those doors. Okay, apart from that, we don't seem to have any actually important stuff down here. Very good, then. Radio setup is done, that stuff is done, transponder is done. Very, very good. Okay, I'd say since we have all of that completed now, let's go ahead and do our departure briefing. Well, FMS speed and nav can already be armed. We gotta wait with the rest of the data for the FMS until we receive our load sheet, so there's that. Alright, let's go for the briefing then. Might as well just switch over the minimums over here. Good. So, new feature with the current update, we do have terrain data showing on the display, and likewise the weather radar includes the standard Asobo radar now as well, but that is new with with the latest update at the point of this recording. Okay, so let's go for the briefing now. runway 33 left, and we've got the Asobo to... Did I say Asobo? You know what I mean. Agoba to Alpha departure. Climbing initially to something like 10,000 in the absence of ATC anyway. MSA-wise, we are safe at, I believe it's 5,000 feet over here. However, we do have all those climb restrictions we got to take into consideration. We took about 10 minutes of extra fuel for our flight. Hotspots for the taxi, we have a runway crossing, so we got to pay special attention to any aircraft approaching or departing. Stop margin for ejected takeoff should be more than plenty, and our engine outset leads us along the filed instrument departure, but climbing to 5,000 feet only. We can come back immediately, we are below the maximum landing weight, and I do not have any special or non-standards here. Do you see any threats for the departure? No? Beautiful. So that is our briefing completed then. Okay, so our loading should be pretty much finished right now. So I'd say with that done, let's go ahead and have a look at our performance setup. So, payload, 0 fuel weight, 148.7. Block fuel 18 is correct, 0 fuel weight, 148.7. Gives us a gross weight of 166.5, that seems correct to me. And for the center of gravity, I believe we don't actually get that from this EFB at all, but we just got to rely on our aircraft system to detect it correctly. So we have 28.0 and 27.4. Okay, I am just going to leave all those fuel values on their own over here. Well, and then we can go for our takeoff data calculation. So, performance. So, runway 33 left. We take the full length over here. You can automatically gather the weather information for me, and that's a UNH of 1015. Set, and set. Wonderful. Okay, takeoff weight 166,500. Flex will be done automatically, no anti-ice. Optimum flaps and packs on. Okay, let's hit calculate and see what we are going to get. 135, 135, 156, flex 59, flaps 23.7. Okay, I wonder if I can just tell it a little bit less, please. Let's do the specific flaps over here, like 10. And see what it's gonna come up with. Interestingly enough, exactly the same values. Okay, well, if that's what it says, then that's what it says, huh? Okay, well, let's go for it. So, flex temperature 59, the packs will be on. Runway slope and wind will just go for 0 and 0 over here. Temperature 25 centigrade, flaps 10. Okay, 36, 36, 58, looks pretty much correct to me. Climb thrust at 1500, acceleration we'll do at 1100. Engine out acceleration 1523 is correct. And for the thrust limits in here, we'll go for a climb 2D rate, and the rest is okay. Wonderful. So, flaps 10 is selected already. Perfect. Well, in that case, let's do the cockpit checklist and the befores. Well, just the cockpit checklist for now. And while we're on it, we can also insert one, what was it? 158. So 158, runway heading, and altitude is good like this. Alright, cockpit checklist. Gear pins removed, pitot static checked, cabin signs on. FCP set, speed band, taxi and 0. Altimeters, QNH 1015 reading 50 set each side. Fuel, we have 17,950 kilograms. System display status checked, system modes all auto. Takeoff data inserted, auto brake, pretty hard to see. Takeoff. Okay, takeoff warning.
Flap.
Checked, flap takeoff selector, 10, cockpit checklist complete. Alright, then let's go ahead and tell GSX to prepare the position for pushback and departure. And at the same time, let's go on to the services and start closing all our doors. Interesting, looks like they're working one after the other. Like the cargo door goes first, but I did order the main door to close as well. Let's see if it's gonna do it right after this. Or maybe it's waiting for the other cargo holds as well. Not 100% sure. I suppose we're gonna see about it in a moment. In the meantime, GSX is preparing to get the pushback going, so let's just go right back into the flight deck here. Passenger door. Didn't I tell you to close? Huh, it just forces itself open. Now that's interesting. Well. Is that a bug now? Or is that because GSX still has the stairs connected, which should definitely have been removed by now? Oh boy, GSX bugging around again? Is that it? Tell you what, restart Throttle. Close the door, please. Yeah, now it's closing. So it was a GSX bug after all. Why am I so not surprised? Okay, here we go then. Okay, external power can be disconnected, and then we should be about ready to go in a moment. We'll leave the taxi chart open over here. Unfortunately, the maximum zoom level is still limited, so I can't go in any further than this, which is a little bit annoying, but so be it. Okay, at least we are done with that stuff for now. So let's go right back into the procedures here. Ignition A, beacon on, and we should just be able to leave the rest on auto. Oh, not you. Okay, let's just go for some random squawk here. Because I do like to see some little variance in the numbers all over my cockpit. But okay. So then, ground from flight deck. Go ahead. So please confirm all ground checks are completed, doors and hatches closed, and the bypass pin is installed. That's all confirmed, Captain, and we are ready to push. Roger, stand by. Before start checklist. Cabin secured, mobile off, engine ignition A. Beacon on, system modes, auto, park and brake, set, before start checklist complete. Okay, ground flight deck. Go ahead. So you're clear to push and facing south, park brake set. Roger, release park and brake. Park and brake released, clear to push. Roger, start on the pushback and you can start all engines in sequence. Roger, stand by. Okay, beautiful. We are starting to move. Then let's go ahead. Ground flight. Engine start will be 3, 1, 2 in that sequence. Starting engine 3. And 2. And 1. Oil pressure. 15%. Fuel on. Okay, starting the timer. So, normal fuel flow, EGT increase, that has to be within 25 seconds. Looks like it just got a little bit warmer, 26 degrees now. But that is fine. Okay, engine 1 start. And 2. And 1. Oil pressure. %. EGT. Looks like that is not exactly an ideal pushback, but to be fair, I don't have a custom profile for the airport, though I would expect GSX especially then to hit the center line, but well, we'll leave it at that. Okay, push complete, set your brakes. Brake set, starting engine 2. And reset that timer. Okay, and 2. And 1. Oil pressure. EGT. The reason we have to start the timer all the time is because if there is no EGT within 25 seconds of applying fuel, then we need to abort the engine start. Okay. Ground flight, we got 3 good engine starts. You're clear to disconnect, show me the pin on the right hand side please, and have a wonderful day now. Okay, no anti-ice needed. APU air going off. And the rest of the systems are going to remain on automatic. Wonderful. So, waiting... Well, there he comes. Ramp agent on the way. He's holding a pin in the hands. And that's the clear signal received. After start checklist. APU. Off. Well, it should be shutting down any moment. Anti-ice. Off. System modes. Auto. After start checklist complete. Okay, clear on the left side. Clear on the right side. And off we go. So taxi is brief, straight out, slight left hand turn, crossing the runways. Let's give this a go. So down here, Delta 3 onto Delta, Juliet crossing, Bravo to the holding point 33 left. Okay. So, flight control track. Full up. Full down. neutral, full left, full right, neutral, and the rudder, well, we know it works. Can't really check it properly during the taxi here. So, snap trim should be at 4 units. You can see it right up here. 4 units is set. Okay, takeoff config check. Looking good. Then we gotta turn left over here, and Juliet is up here to cross the runways. Clear right side, clear left side. Now, let's see how well we are gonna get it across a turn. There used to be some problems in the past, and there still are. This is a full rudder input to the side. This is full input right now. Look at how the wheel is skidding. Now I'm using differential braking to get it across the turn. They need to work on that. Can't be that you can't take a turn properly. Look at this. Should have been able to turn the airplane here without any problems. This is now full rudder, including differential braking, and we barely get any turning movement out of the plane. Sometimes I don't understand this. Especially because in other times it seems to work much better. Like right now, going to the right hand side, not very good either. Come on, this is full input. This is annoying. Okay then, crossing runway 33 right, strobe lights on, and we are clear on the approach area. I wonder who put a taxi light up here. That's definitely not supposed to be there. This is what proper beta testing is about for sceneries, removing things like taxi lights on the center lines. Okay, so let's review the takeoff briefing. It is going to be a left seat takeoff, runway 33 left. The speeds 136, 136, 158, and our SID leads us straight ahead with a left turn out. There is no speed restriction on this one, but there are a couple altitude restrictions that we'll try to obey. I don't have any specials, and in case of emergencies we are still going to follow the SID. Well, there is one special. We should certainly not deviate northbound of the route because of the border with North Korea. That could become problematic. Right, let's try and take this turn somehow. This is now full tiller, including differential braking again. Wow, that taxi model needs improvement. It just needs improvement. Okay, here we go. That's probably looking better. Okay, so as mentioned, border with North Korea over here, which we must not cross. So we'll be careful not to cross that and maintain on the center line of the SID. Nonetheless, I will do a little bit of manual flight just to explore how the airplane feels and handles. Well, and that's it. Any questions? No? Beautiful. So, let's try and take the full length over here without overshooting the taxiway center line again. So, let's try it really slow. 6 knots. Start the left turn. And this is a full input. Bit of thrust to maintain the speed. But look at that, now it's turning at a proper angle, at 2 knots. This looks better, now the wheel isn't skidding. Oh well. Okay, we'll just hold short of the runway for now. Okay, takeoff checklist. Flight controls, checked. Flaps, 10. Spoilers, armed. Trim, 4 units, 0 and 0. And the EAD is checked. Takeoff checklist complete. Alright, so then we are done with everything down here. Let's go ahead and do our lineup and see what's gonna happen. And most importantly, let's see if we can replicate that turn. I think at 3 knots the nose wheel started not to skid. That is much too slow. But let's give it a try. Let's see if we can replicate it. So, 4 knots, too fast, 3 knots. Yeah, at 3 knots it's looking good. Well, better than nothing, I suppose. Okay, so weather radar goes on. Of course, nothing out there that we could actually see on the radar. For this reason, I am going to switch over to terrain now. Okay. So, that is it. Are you ready to go? Yes, sir. In this case, take off. Stabilized. Engage auto flight. Thrust set. 80 knots. V1 rotate. Positive climb. Gear up. Nav. Beautiful rate of climb since we've got a very light airplane. Okay, climb thrust is set. Profile engaged. Should start accelerating. We did set the acceleration altitude somewhat slower. But let's just see what it's gonna do. I am gonna follow this standard profile here. You should start accelerating, my friend. It's all automatic now. Sometimes I really don't know what these planes are doing. Okay. Let me do it ourselves. So, 250, pull, flaps retract, speed checked. And slats retract, speed checked.
Stabilizer function.
Okay, that seems to be looking rather well. Autopilot on, let's go ahead and climb all the way to cruise level 390, like this. The only thing that catches me now is... oh, I entered 11,000 acceleration. Okay, that explains it. No blame on TFDI then. It looks like I can't edit it anymore in the air. Okay, well, I take back anything I said. This is to blame on me, not to blame on TFDI. That's fine. We'll just use manual control then until reaching 11,000, and then we should see our target come up on the PFD down there. Okay, 300 knots. And passing 11,000 now. Here comes our target. Going up. Not sure why it goes to 240 though and not any further. Is there any speed restriction we missed? No. Okay. Well. So be it. I can live with that. Then we'll just use manual speed control for now until the VNAV goes ahead with its acceleration. Passing 10,000. Lights are going off. Seatbelts auto. And that's it. Okay, transition altitude comes at 14,000. So that is rather high. Also, we can reset our timer. The MD-11 does have an automatic one. Set standard. Standard cross-check, passing flight level 146 now. Checked. Okay, beautiful. So, a quick look down here. Why is there 240 knot restriction over here? Well, we're definitely going to take that one out. Anything else? Another 240 knot restriction. Oh, is it just moving along? Okay, that looks better. Now we also have a proper speed target over here. Okay. That was a pretty hefty pitch over. Our cargo would certainly not have liked that. I do hope we have nothing fragile on board. And if we had any passengers, they most definitely would not have liked that. Alright, the airport's located down there. I'm gonna make that left-hand turn, fly across the waters over here, and then out up to the north. Well, to the northeast, I should say. Okay, here's what I meant. You've got the automatic timer running in the background down there, so that the manual one is available as needed. So, I do suppose we are gonna take a little shortcut here towards... Well, actually, can we take a proper shortcut without hitting North Korea? Well, we can definitely go towards Agoba. And thereafter we'll have to see. Let's go direct to Agoba for now, see how well the direct 2 functions work. Agoba and direct insert. Well, this seems to be standard Microsoft Flight Simulator logic in the background there. Starting the direct at a turning point, to which it then tries to fly back. So let's just re-enter that direct once we're on a proper course. Otherwise the plane would now go in circles and fly a lazy 8 or something over here. We don't need to do that. On a more positive note though, have a look at the beautiful visual design of the dirt and scratch marks on the displays there. That's looking very good. Alright, the course is more or less correct now. Let's go direct Agoba one more time. Here we go. And this is probably looking better. Okay, on to our FMS then. Progress page. Estimated arrival time 0812, so that's in an hour and 11 minutes. 7.2 tons of fuel is good. According to the performance, optimum 360, maximum 430. I wonder how accurate that is if SimBrief tells me that our optimum flight level is 390. Well, let's trust SimBrief for the time being. Even though I'm not 100% sure which of the two actually is correct. I do have to admit that much. Now, one thing that I definitely want to test on this flight, the MD-11 is a long hauler. And in my opinion, something that is very important for any long haul plane is the capability to cope with accelerated time. Now, for that reason, let's go ahead and hit a little bit of time acceleration right now and see how the MD-11 is going to perform under that. So I'm going to 4x acceleration right now, and we'll just see how the airplane is going to perform. In my opinion, any long hauler, regardless whether it is the 777, an MD-11, or insert random long haul Airbus or whatever over here, in my opinion 4x time acceleration is absolutely mandatory for any of these aircraft to work. But for now, looks like the climb is pretty stable and the plane is performing pretty well like this. It's always funny when you fly under accelerated time and then you look out to the front and see that terrain pass by. I do love these views in the real world already, when just watching out the A330 window, watching the train go by. Especially when it's, you know, not the standard terrain that you see in Europe all the time that I'm so used to. But seeing something like the Korean Peninsula over here, looking pretty cool. Even though you can really see how the simulator is working over here. We've got the rather low resolution imagery over there and then the higher resolution imagery down here. So we're reaching the FMS calculated optimum of flight level 360, still doing 1,000 feet a minute, so that is looking rather okay for me for now. The tailwind is building up as per the forecast, very nice. I suppose we are just gonna try 390 and see what we're gonna get. So this is our FMS optimum now, 360, still doing 900 feet a minute, that is alright. And then we're gonna approach our first turn at Kilo Alpha Echo right over here. That's gonna be interesting to see how it's gonna handle that under accelerated time. And of course the level off in 390 as well. $1,000 to go. 800 feet a minute rate of climb, that's rather good. Optimum now 370. That's okay as well. Alright, approaching 390, let's monitor the level off.
Altitude.
Well, that is okay. That's actually quite okay. The important thing for me is that the plane remains under positive control at all times. Using time acceleration here. Approaching the first turn, let's see how that is going to work. Looks like that is an overfly waypoint, even though I don't really know why. So, maximum angle of bank, maintaining altitude very precisely. That's pretty cool. That is exactly what I would expect the plane to do. And just for the sake of it, 13.6 tons, 21 minutes. At the top of climb. So, small overshoot, but getting right back onto the route. Pretty precise. I do like that. I do really like that. Okay, very precise tracking, exactly what we wanted to see. Wonderful. So then, T-cars below, 273 miles till the top of descent, easy going. So if I compare my forecast, well, SimBrief said top of climb after 11 minutes, 12 tons of fuel. That didn't look rather correct, so let's just not worry with that for now. According to SimBrief, we have a fuel checkpoint at Lanat. That should be 35 minutes into the flight. Let's see if we can find that somewhere over here. There it is, Lanat. So that is looking all right down there. So just to mention it, very precise altitude tracking, very neat tracking of the turns using time acceleration. That is definitely an improvement from the earlier versions of the aircraft that we had, you know, a couple of months ago. That is most definitely an improvement. I like that. Pretty good job in the background, TFDI. So Lanat is also the boundary to Japanese airspace from the Incheon to the Fukuoka UIR. Now let's just go ahead and mark that on our nav display over here. Like that, we have a visual representation of where that boundary is as well. Well, and then there is really not all that much to do for the time being. Just flying across the ocean over here, monitoring the aircraft in flight. Once we're over at Lanat, we are going to do another fuel check. And while we are waiting for that, let's just have a very quick look into our flight plan so that you can follow along with what I'm doing over here. So let's just open SimBrief for now, OFP. So the top of climb data was probably not accurate due to it saying 11 minutes to the top of climb. Then I don't trust the fuel values either. But over here at Lanat, 35 minutes in flight and 9,700 kilos fuel. That sounds more reasonable if you ask me. So not a lot to be seen on the outside, so how about we just keep monitoring the inside. In my opinion, it would be nice if they had en route charts available on the EFB and not just the terminal charts. But if we close this, you can see nothing comes up, so that is something they'll have to add with a future version. Likewise, I would really appreciate if we could monitor our actual flight plan down here and not just see that overview. But I suppose that would probably be something they are going to do on the further development. Okay then, approaching Lanat with 37 minutes in the air, so 2 minutes late, 12,000 kilos on board. Remember, compare that with the schedule of 9,700. We took, well, 1.5 extra roundabouts, so we've saved some 800 kilos of fuel versus the operational flight plan, while at the same time we have, well, taken about 2 minutes longer. Normally not exactly a combination that I would expect. Like normally I would expect if you take longer, you should also have a little bit less fuel than what the flight plan calculates, and if you are quicker, then of course you should have a little bit more. But, well, I do suppose we gotta deal with what we have and not dream up what we'd like. Okay, nonetheless, one thing to mention over here in regards to the terrain display, since I'm sure that some of you are going to be asking, well, you're approaching Japan, why is there nothing showing on the terrain display? Well, that is because of the way the terrain display works on older aircraft. You know, those lovely features you have in the more modern ones, like the 777 or the 737. Well, on the 37 it's actually optional and PNDG did model that, but the feature that you are looking for is probably the terrain peaks mode, and we do not have that installed on this aircraft. Peaks mode means that when you're up in cruising altitude, you are going to see the peaks of the terrain shown on the display. Now, on this one we don't have that. On this one we just have a standard terrain display, which only shows you terrain that is within I believe 2,000 feet below your aircraft altitude, and then the colors are changing appropriately depending on the status or on the height difference in question. Okay, so since we're in Japanese airspace, let's take it direct to Alicia. No, not Tanta. Alicia. Direct to. Let's see how it's going to handle the turn. And that is looking quite good. Alright, let's take it out of time acceleration. We're back to real time now. If you don't have a status indicator of your accelerated time, something I like to do is to run that timer and just track the seconds up here. And this definitely looks like correct real-world seconds. That way I can make sure that I'm not accidentally landing with the aircraft still under accelerated time. I mean, it would probably be interesting to do a landing at 2x or a landing at 4x, but not for a flight like this. So, 60 nautical miles to run till our top of descent, and I'd say that sounds like a very good moment to start setting up for our arrival. Unfortunately, no chart clipboard implemented just yet. I do hope that that is going to come in the future though. Okay, so from Elisa towards Tanta above 6,000, then Nalto. So let's see, Alicia, Tanta above 6,000, and then we have Nalto. Alright, from there we proceed towards Asami, Beagle, Barry. And I have a feeling we just need to tidy this one up. So Gates has to go, and that one has to go. Okay, Asami, Beagle, Barry, Borrell. That is looking okay now. Just a quick check where our top of descent is now. Well, 12 miles. Looks good. Okay, so Asami, Beagle, and Barry. And there is a small note there, that's just for the holdings, okay. Alright, and thereafter Bolal, and from there we start our approach, which is going to be an ILS Yankee approach, runway 06 left. So, Bolal in 4000, we have a 3-degree glide, and the missed approach. Climb to 500 on heading 059, turn left heading 241, intercept and proceed outbound Kilo India Echo Radial 286 towards Lilac and hold at 3000, contact Kansai approach. Well, and that looks to be what we have in here as well. Perfect. Okay, so Navrat. It is going to tune the frequency automatically later on, so that is nothing to worry about for now. So, reaching our top of descent, let's go ahead and dial that down. Profile is armed, so it should start the descent automatically if I'm not mistaken. Even though, interestingly enough, on the performance page up here, it still tells us distance to top of descent 23 miles. Well, let's see what it's going to do. But this looks okay. Start of the descent. Maybe, well, not maybe. It is pitching a little bit quickly here. That would have been pretty uncomfortable to the passengers. Okay, let's just dial the altitude all the way down to 6,000. Like that. Okay, so let's continue our FMS setup down there. Should probably have entered the descent forecast earlier. Well, it doesn't matter. Let's do it now then. So, for our descent, what can we make use of now? Level 350, and the wind down there comes at 262 at 78. And level 200. 264 at 30. Level 150. Wind is 282 at 17. And in level 100, the wind comes from 236 at 3 knots. And that's looking good. Insert that. Interestingly enough, you could just see that there was actually some VNAV deviation there. So there is something going on in the background in terms of wind data calculation. Not sure why it says no intercept over here. In any case, that is that part. Well then, takeoff approach page. Flaps 35 landing looks good to me, and that is all we need down here. Wonderful. Okay, for the minimums, 209. Here we go. That is now set. And I believe that's pretty much it, isn't it? Anything else we need to do? Probably not. Alright then, let's have a look into the airport and our taxi. So we're landing on 06 left up here, vacating the runway to the right. Gonna take another couple of interesting sharp turns over here to see how the aircraft is going to perform. And then we're going to go southbound and parking at the international cargo over here. Now let's see if there is any parking stands available for that one. Yep, up here on the main parking chart. Okay, beautiful. So that pretty much comprises everything we need to do for our aircraft setup. In that case, let's go ahead and do the approach briefing, please. Starting right up here with the first officer. Okay, so MSA-wise, we're looking at some rather high hills in the entire area. Let's just have a closer look on the chart itself. 5,800 is the MSA. We are following the Alicia Bravo arrival for an ILS Yankee approach onto runway 06 left. The minimum is at 209 feet. Here we go. Minimum's 209. Go around straight out to 500, then a left-hand turn by 180 degrees onto track 241, and intercept the radial outbound, climbing to an altitude of 3,000 feet. Extra fuel and time, well, we should have quite a bit right now. Let's just see if we can find something useful over here. Yeah, 9.7 arrival fuel. That is more than plenty. Alright, manually flown approach, guided by the flight director, flaps 35 landing. Plenty of stop margin, we will use the reversers and we will use auto brake minimum. Okay, we'll vacate the runway on one of those rapid exit taxiways to the right hand side. There shouldn't be anything special for the taxi in except for the nose wheel skidding, I suppose. So, I don't have any special or non-standards over here. Do you see any threats for the arrival? No? Beautiful. So that's our briefing complete. Alright, on my last couple of MD-11 flights I received some questions as to which checklist I am using. And the checklist I use is the actual Lufthansa cargo checklist. And that one is available from Pilot's ITV. So, the Germans among you will probably know about Pilot's ITV. It is something similar to Just Planes, even though a little bit more cinematically orientated. And if you go to their website up here onto the downloads, then you will find the MD-11 downloads over here. And if you have a look into their PDF, you will find the checklist on page number 16. So let's just head right over there, and here you go. That's the real Lufthansa cargo checklists for the MD-11 taken right from their operations manual. So you have those over here printed on a piece of paper, and then you have those over here on the control column, located right down here in the real airplane. So that way you do have the checklist that you need while the airplane is moving readily available on the control column, and the checklists that are needed while the airplane is stationary are all located on a piece of paper. Really useful, if you ask me, and I just like to have those real-world airline checklists over here, because in my opinion there are some super long checklists available for aircraft like the MD-11. If you look at the TFDI manuals checklists, for example, you will find that they are super long, including so many items, while, as you can see, airlines just shorten them down, like Lufthansa Cargo has done over here. So in my opinion, those Lufthansa Cargo checklists are probably the nicer ones to use. But of course that's up for anyone for personal debate. And what you can do if you really want a printout of those is to take a screenshot of the website and just cut out the part that actually comes from the Lufthansa operations manual, and then just print out that screenshot, and that should give you a nice little printout of the real world checklists. One of those small things that I do like to do personally, because it just makes it, you know, that little bit more realistic. But also because I do like to use those rather short checklists over those rather long ones. That was one of the major differences when I changed from my old operator to my new one. The old one had super long checklists where they really just printed in a very small font on an entire DIN A4 page the entire normal checklist that you had to use while the aircraft was stationary, and then you had those super long checklists on the control column as well. I'm pretty happy that nowadays my new airline just uses the standard Airbus checklists, which are so much shorter. And just right down to the point, you know. You don't get into those rhyming responses where you just reply without thinking if you don't have to read those billions of useless checklists, you know. Right, a little bit of weather over here it seems. Let's see if we can get anything on the radar. To be fair, I don't really suspect any radar returns with clouds like these. These are just cumulus clouds. Unless there is any precipitation in them, there wouldn't be any radar returns, so this seems to be quite correct on the current radar display. Nonetheless, we can just go for the tilt a little bit here. Maybe just tilt it down a bit, see what we're gonna get. By the way, it looks like you can only turn the tilt in steps of 3. In the real world, we turn it in steps of 0.3 in order to analyze weather properly. So that's hopefully something they can improve with a future update, bringing those steps to something more realistic. Okay, transition level 140, that is right here, right now. So let's go ahead and set QNH. Well, local QNH is 1013 at the moment, so we can just stay at that. Looking at the latest weather, it's 240 at 8, 10 kilometers visibility, few clouds, temperature 28, QNH 1013. Now the interesting thing here is that even with weather data like this, they are currently using runway 06 at the real airport, as we can see looking at flight radar 24 over here. So this is what it looks like, landing on 06 left. So it is going to be a tailwind of 8 knots on the final approach then. Got to take that into consideration as we're slowing the aircraft down, so that we don't bust our landing gate, which is going to be 1,000 feet. The Lufthansa Group operates with the stabilized approach gate at 1,000 exclusively. They don't use the 500 gate that some other airlines are using in VMC. So we'll try and do the same. Okay, at drag, it is trying to slow down while descending at 2,000 feet a minute. That might be rather steep to actually slow down, but Let's just keep it on profile mode and have a look at what happens. So it is pitching up now. That's looking much better. Right, let's go down to the platform altitude of 4,000 feet. So that deceleration looks much better now. Temperature plus 20, so we don't need anti-ice going through those clouds. Slowing down towards 245 knots. And we're actually reaching those at 10,400, so the plane does add some thrust at the moment. Should not have needed to do that. The forecast wind we entered was 3 knots. Looks like it is a tiny bit more, so if at all the speed should have been a little bit high, but not a little bit low. Okay, something I just about noticed. We should set the dial flap selected to 15, because that is an intermediate setting used on the airplane. Okay, well that is definitely a little bit too much thrust for my taste now. Not 100% sure how TFDI did the VNAV. By the pure looks of it, I would guesstimate that they have probably just done it in a general 3-degree path and then just added some random deceleration segment, but I might be mistaken about that. Okay, passing 10,000. Lights on, signs on. 10,000 kilos of fuel on board, that's looking good. Okay. So, the ILS has been tuned. India Kilo Juliet is the identifier we are receiving at the moment. And India Kilo Juliet is correct on the chart down here as well. Perfect. Okay, approach checklist. System modes, auto, altimeters, QNH 1013. And I think we can just set that down here as well, like that. Okay, 1013 cross-checked. Approach checklist complete. So, we have 15 miles to Bola, gotta be in 4,000 over there. Why is the descent getting so weird right now? Should be descending at more or less a constant angle. And now it keeps going down again. Okay. Okay, the airport is located up here and at the 12 o'clock position on that little island. There is runway 06 left, where we're gonna land on. Don't worry that it looks like we're going to 06 right at the moment. Once we are past Beagle, we are going to turn to the left to intercept the course properly, as we should. Okay, target speed going down towards 206. Why do I have the feeling that the segment where the airplane pitched up and barely descended earlier was the one where we should have reduced the speed towards 206, which it corrected for using thrust, because the speed target and the vertical profile might not have been exactly identical. Just an assumption though. In any case, let's go ahead and help it a bit. So, 1/3 a speed brake. Looks like we might need a bit more. Let's try 2/3. Yeah, that's better. Speed is coming back slowly. I'm not forcing anything hard over here, but we still gotta intercept that slope properly at Bola, and taking into consideration our altitude, I think we actually don't need the speed brake anymore. Okay, as mentioned, we do want to do a little bit of manual flight here.
Pilot.
So, 1,000 to go. So, land armed. Localizer. Runway heading 059 set. Manual thrust. Ew, that was rather aggressive, even though I just did a very small input. Glide slope alive. Flaps, well, slats extend. Speed is coming back nicely. Flaps 15. Speed checked. Flaps 15. Glide slope captured. Go around altitude 3000 sets. So speed brake is armed. Go around altitude is set. Very nice and stable platform over here. Easy to manage the speed to keep it on the dot. I will try a standard configuration sequence, basically extending the landing gear when we're 6 miles out. Let's see how that's gonna work. The wind is calm at the moment, but that means the tailwind still has to build up, which might make slowing the aircraft down a little bit more difficult. Checked. Okay, let's keep that speed at 170 for the time being. And then at 2000 we're gonna try and slow it down. Alright, gear down. Flaps 28. Speed checked. Flaps 28 and flaps 35. Speed check, flap 35. Man, this thing slows down like a brick.
Stabilizer motion.
Have to give it a little bit of trim here.
Stabilizer motion.
Alright, that is looking good. Landing checklist. Landing gear down, 4 green. Auto brake, minimum. Spoilers armed, flaps 35. And EAD checked. Landing checklist complete. Alright, we clear the land. Runway is at the 12 o'clock position, and again, as long as you are stabilized in here, it is a very stable platform.
1000.
Checked. Really not a lot of inputs we need to do over here. This is looking awesome. Alright, so let's give it a try. Glide slope is checked, correcting. You can see my yoke at the very bottom of the screen, and you can see my thrust targets on the engine display there. You can see I'm really only doing small inputs here.
400.
Because that is all you need.
300. Approaching minimum.
Checked. Of course, the moment I say this, we're entering a little bit of turbulence here.
200. Stabilizer motion.
I did not trim that one manually.
100.
That was automatic.
50. 40. 30. 20.
Flat a tad early.
10.
And here we go. Spoilers, reverse green. $70 knots. Manual brakes. And we are vacating the runway. Perfect. Okay, now it's got to be a right-hand turn onto the second taxiway to the right here. Where's the airport chart? Here it is. Interestingly enough, this time at 11 knots, we are taking the turn at a proper speed here. I don't quite understand yet when the airplane starts skidding and when it doesn't. Because as you can see right now at 10 knots, we are doing a proper turn. Interesting. Very interesting. Okay, well, never question something if it works, so we'll just take it straight from here. Okay, so spoilers are retracted again. Slots going in, weather radar and transponder off and alt off. So, second taxiway to the left. Okay. Auto brake, off, trim. Going back towards 3 units. .1 shall be fine as well. Okay, let's try that turn, see what's going to happen. We are at 8 knots right now, and the plane enters the turn perfectly fine. It's interesting. I just couldn't get it to do that on the ground in Seoul, but here at Osaka, no problem whatsoever. Even right now at 10 knots, it's really interesting. Okay, lights are set and APU can be started. Okay, the plane is actually accelerating on idle here, then we can shut down engine number 2 and do a 2-engine taxi. Okay, so parking chart, please. Here we go. So we are going to park down here, 209, so straight ahead onto Lima, then to the right, and then into stand 209. Okay, not on here it seems. Then it's gotta be on the parkings. $209, here it is. No follow me needed, handling by. I don't know any of these, so I'm just gonna take a random one here. Look at that, even on idle thrust, goes up to 29 knots. With an engine shutdown. Okay, approaching Lima. We'll turn right over here. Clear left side and clear right side. And here we go. Look at that, it turns without any problems. I really have no idea why we had the problems down on the ground at Seoul. Okay, for some reason the APU hasn't started yet. Let's try that again. Now it's starting, very good. So if I need to take a bet for Murphy's Law, once we start turning into the gate, the steering is no longer going to work, but let's go ahead and have a look. So, lights off, weather radar is off, approaching 209. Yeah, I told you. Full input. Well, down at 1 knot, now it should work, I suppose. I really don't know what it is with the steering. If we take things slow, it works, but it's just too slow. You shouldn't need to go down to 2 or 3 knots in order to be able to do a tiller input like this. And here we are. So, parking brake set, APU is running. That's looking very good. Okay. Well then, anti-ice is off, APU power is selected on. APU bleed on. Shutdown 2 and 3. Okay, engines are running down normally. Seatbelts off, beacon off, emergency power selector off. So we are going to go off board over here. That means we can shut down the IRSs. And then let's go for the parking checklist, please. Exterior lights set, anti-ice off, step trim 3 degrees nose up. System display status is checked. System modes, auto, spoilers retracted. Flap slats up, retracted. Fuel switches off, parking brake set. Weather radar off. Transponder. Standby and APU air on. Parking checklist complete. Well everyone, here you have it, the TFDI MD-11 once again. So, what is the status of the aircraft at the moment then? I would say that it did perform quite good compared to the early versions. My main problem here was the taxi, as you could easily figure. The rest of it actually did work rather fine. The speed issues on the departure were to blame on me, not on TFDI. So that stuff would probably have worked properly if I did fly the aircraft correctly. Apart from that though, no significant issues here. Of course, few things that were a little bit strange, like the deceleration on VNAV there, which looked like it was kind of programmed in a way that the actual altitude versus speed curves were somewhat independent of one another, but I'm sure that that is stuff that they can get under control. Anyway, in the meantime, I would like to say thank you very much for watching. Hope that you've enjoyed this one. Now, would I recommend to get the TFDI MD-11? I tend to say we are slowly getting into a direction where I can say yes, I would recommend it. Of course, it is a rather expensive airplane at the price point at which it comes, but you need to understand that this price point basically comes together because the MD-11 has a rather small customer base compared to, for example, an A320, 737 or 777. So they simply have less persons upon which they need to split the revenue that needs to be generated to finance the development. In any case, with that out of the way, I would like to say thank you very much for watching. Hope that you've enjoyed this one. Leave your feedback in the comment section below. Be sure to like, comment and subscribe, as it really does help out the channel. And if you really love what I'm doing over here, I would appreciate a small donation through the Buy Me Coffee link in the video description below. Thank you for watching and see you all again on the next one.